Hey everyone, it's Kyle from Cool Collectibles back again for another review. This time it's the Transformers Masterpiece MP-52 Starscream, being the version 2, or if you want to be pedantic about it, perhaps the version 3 or 4 in the Masterpiece series. But straight off the bat, I have to say that this figure is absolutely gorgeous. It has a beautiful paint application. It looks great in jet mode. I haven't transformed it into bot mode yet, but as you can see by the box art there, it does look pretty damn good and cartoon accurate in bot mode, and that's the mode that I will have mine in the display. And it does come with a fair few accessories as well, which I'll go through in a second. But I guess the main point for this figure, similar to the issues with Hound, are some of the quality control issues that are being reported for this particular figure. And I'll go through mine that I saw straight out of the box, but I'll get to that when I give you guys a closer look at the figure. This particular video isn't really going to include any sort of transformation or anything like that. It's mainly going to be my thoughts on each mode and the comparison against the previous MP-11, which I have beside me here. But just quickly going through the accessories before I get into all that, I guess you just saw the box art. It's the standard stuff that you've seen before from the MP series. This time it's more of a landscape format, I guess, and the back of it has the usual all the sort of cover art of the various accessories and so on, and you do see all the accessories there at the bottom there in Japanese, so nothing too much to write home about there, but I might actually get that out of the way and give you guys a closer look at the rest of it. Hold on. First up, it does come with the usual collector card with a different card art at the front there, and the usual tech specs and so on at the back, which is always nice to have. Comes with the fold-out instruction manual. I'm disappointed actually that they didn't include the usual booklet with the Transformers in this particular scale. Most of the larger figures in the past have had a little booklet with a bit of art and some trivia and so on in the back, but this one is more like the smaller Autobot card bots, which is a little bit disappointing, and the instructions are really hard to follow. So I'll be using some of the transformation videos that have cropped up on YouTube, and the one that I will end up using, I'll put that in the description below. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to use just yet. With the other accessories, it does come with a new Megatron gun here. It looks a lot darker in the gun metal than the previous figures, but overall the detailing and so on is quite nice. I think you can extend this down to make the grasping in the hand a little bit easier, but I don't think I'll have Starscream holding this. I'll probably have Skywarp holding it when he is released. I'm not sure if he actually comes with one, but we'll see. Comes with the two null rays disconnected. I have heard reports where people have had two of the same side in the package. Luckily for mine, they do have a left and a right, so no issue there. And they are painted. It's not just bare plastic, which is nice, and that's a nice thing that they've started doing for most of the MP figures in the last year or so, or at least a couple of years now, and with the plus versions where they have some pretty awesome paint application and not just the bare colored plastic. As similar with some of the other figures recently, they all come with these sort of blast effects and so on. So these are the effects you put on the rear of the thrusters in jet mode. These are the sort of null ray effects. I think this one is more for Megatron, if I can grab him. I'm not sure if he just sort of plugs on there. So that looks pretty good from a cartoon perspective with Megatron there. And it also comes with a whole bunch of these what I seem to think are fairly useless accessories, but I guess for completeness they do include them, similar to some of the stuff that they included on MP-44 Optimus, just specific scenes and so on from the cartoon. I can't actually remember which episodes and so on that they've come from, but apparently there was one where he had this claw, and he was holding. I don't know if he was holding this sort of. I don't know if it's some sort of alien rock or something, but you get the idea. And then he had this drill or screw thing in one of the episodes. I actually would have preferred if they included a Dr. Arkeville or something like that, or I don't know, something to do with Red Alert, or I'm not sure, or Skyfire or something. But I guess the original MP-11 even came with the coronation gear, which would have been nice, but I've heard that the coronation gear this time is a sort of mail away exclusive in Japan, where you have to order all three and then you can send in something to get the coronation gear, which is a little bit disappointing. My favourite accessory is probably the swap out face plates. So similar to what they've done with some of the other figures, they really do give a lot of character to the figure now. So I think this sort of open mouth face is when he was firing Megatron, I think, in the movie. It also comes with his a laughing face, which looks pretty good there. There's like a screaming, crying face. My favourite, of course, is the, where is it? Here we go. The sort of smirk, if that focuses. And I'll definitely be using that smirk. So that's pretty much speaks Starscream to me. And this is just his normal sort of gentle smile. So definitely love the fact that they're giving these swap out features. But I guess the main thing now is the figure itself. So I'll grab that before I give you guys a comparison to MP-11. Hold on. Alright, so here he is on his stand, and I've just reattached the null rays there. I haven't actually attached them to the arm on the side, so you can have them, if I just flip them over there like so, you can have them detached like that, or you can attach it to the arm here, but I've left it off just to make it easier for me to do the transformation. But I do love how they've designed these null rays, where they do flip out and transform into the longer, thinner version when he's in bot mode, and the sort of more cluster bomb type bombs on the wings there in the jet mode, and that is much more cartoon accurate. And as you can see on the stand, he does have a bit of weight at the back there that tends to make the stand flip backwards like that. So you do need to be a little bit wary on how you pose that. And I think if you put it on the angle, it pretty much doesn't want to have too much friction to stay there. Although when I say that, it does that now. Previously, it sort of just tended to fall down to be much more on almost a 45-degree bank like that. But that does look pretty damn good. And it gives you a nice look at all the panel lining and so on. So there were some collectors that I read on the forums and so on that said that this jet mode is not as good as even MP-11, but I'll bring out MP-11 in a second. But I think this jet mode beats it hands down, and I guess with pretty much every surface that I can see being painted. I think there's only a few little panels here and here maybe that are unpainted plastic, but everything else has that nice grey paint that is a little bit darker than the light grey plastic of the original. And in photos sometimes it does look almost blue, but in hand and in what I can see in front of me now, it looks pretty damn perfect. And the paint really does have a big difference, much like a MP-44 and its paint application compared to some of the third-party competition and MP-10 itself. The paint application is just second to none. The base, I'm glad that they included this base. They didn't include a base with MP-11 from memory, and it just attaches here, and it does have if I just put it on the side there, it does have this connecting piece it was a little bit tricky to put it onto this centerpiece here. You just need to force that plastic piece into the two slots, but once it's in, it does fit in fairly snugly and attaches pretty easily. But before I get MP-11 out, I might just try to show you the hairline crack. I'm not sure if you can, that's as far as I can zoom in really without taking the camera off altogether. But if I sort of try and get in a little bit closer, if it focuses, you might be able to make out that hairline crack just along there. And that's what I saw straight out of the packaging. It doesn't seem to be getting any bigger. I have tried to rotate that as part of the transformation. I haven't fully transformed it yet. You can see some of the plastic that I've still got on there, but hopefully that crack doesn't get any bigger. Luckily, I think in bot mode, all of this is hidden in the backpack, so it shouldn't affect how I display the figure, but we'll have to see if it gets any bigger. But I think that is the only QC issue I have. There are also reports of cracks in the ankles. I think if you, not sure if you can see from this angle, there are a couple of areas. There's like a slot just inside that ankle area there, and I have seen some photos and reports of cracks along that plastic, which ends up making the ankles really loose in bot mode. So just be aware of that. So I'll be very careful when I transform mine for that area. This is pretty well known, and I think they're the only reports of cracks so far, so it's not as bad as Hound, but I really do think Takara need to work on their plastic quality. I'm not sure what factories they're using. Apparently Hound was in Vietnam, but this one says it's made in China, and yet they're still having these plastic problems. So I don't think it's a matter of bad design or I guess the way they've engineered it. It's more the production problems. So I guess with Hound it was definitely a bad quality plastic, and this one I think a lot of these are done through assembly, so I'm not sure if the factory workers are just being heavy-handed or the pins going in and so on are just not fitting in properly, but it is really tarnishing what should otherwise be a release that is celebrated by all MP collectors, because I think other than some of these plastic issues, Hound and Starscream here are pretty much the definitive versions of their G1 characters. But I'll take him off the stand now and give you guys a side-by-side to MP-11. Hold on. Alright, so here they are side-by-side with MP-11 on the left and MP-52 on the right. And as you can see, the darker paint application on MP-52 really does stand out. I think even some of the panel lining, I think you can see a lot of surface detail and so on, which you can't really make out on MP-11 because of the sort of clearer plastic. You do get the sort of molding lines and so on, but they really don't stand out because of the unpainted surface. Whereas on MP-52 here, some of the wing detail is a bit lost, but all of the detail in the center section here really does come to the fore, I think. So people were saying that you know, they don't like the lack of detail and so on and the flat surfaces. I guess in jet mode here, they really have addressed that, and I think it pretty much is on par, if not better than MP-52 in terms of that detail. I think pretty much everything else is on par. I do like the fact that it's got these thicker null rays as opposed to MP-11, which these didn't transform, so they're stuck with that long thin look. I guess even the underside here, people were complaining that you know, it does look a lot like the bot mode, but I guess that's true, and I can see how this is probably a bit more cartoon accurate as well, but people do like their jet modes to be more vehicle accurate, but I guess I don't display my figures in jet mode with this facing up. They're almost always either vertically or horizontally like this, or at least banking. So what the jet looks like from underneath is pretty much like with the cars. I don't really get too fussed about what it looks like underneath. I guess from the side here, and I just noticed I've got a paint scratch there, which is annoying. But I do think the side profile is probably not as clean. This center armature here really does affect that look, and I think you can maybe adjust that a little bit. No, so that doesn't give too much clearance and doesn't look as clean, I guess, as MP-11 here does in jet mode. But I think with the detailing and the paint application, I think that more than makes up for it. And I think just I'm just feeling the weight here of the two figures as well. I think MP-52 just has a bit more heft and sort of better build quality, I think, from that perspective. But that's pretty much it from jet mode. I'll do the transformation off camera. I think that's probably going to take me close to an hour, like it always does. And then I'll give you guys the bot mode comparison. Hold on. Alright, so here he is in bot mode, and for anyone who says this is not the definitive Starscream, well, I don't know, I just have to disagree because I think this thing is absolutely fantastic. The transformation, yes, was an absolute pain in the ass, and I'm not looking forward to doing that again anytime soon. I'll go through in a second some of the trickiest points for me in the transformation, and some of the tricks, particularly around getting these air intakes at the shoulders here straight without damaging any of the plastic, etc. But if you just look at this guy up and down, I mean, he just screams G1 cartoon beautifully. And it's not so much that it's just G1 cartoon. People were complaining about the nappies, etc. I think the proportions on this figure are as good as they could possibly be for a G1 representation of this character. The panel lining, it's very flat, of course. If you're a G1 fan, you'll know that. But they've rounded all the edges, so it just looks very organic, very natural, and it just seems to just really pop on display. I don't know if it's the paint application or what. There's the side view. I don't know what people are complaining about from a backpack perspective. I think it looks fine. It folds away beautifully. And even from the rear, I think it cleans up pretty damn well as well. Now, what I will say is there are these little points here, just that little grey tab there on either side, and they are an absolute pain in the ass to transform correctly or peg in without damaging the front or without having these warp and point outwards. Now, the trick that I found, you definitely need to have these parts here. If I just grabbed a figure, you definitely need to have these parts here telescoped out. So make sure they're telescoped out, and then these parts at the front here, what I found in my initial transformation, I didn't have this center piece folded in all the way down, so you need that essentially horizontal, like so. And then when you fold these pieces down the back, don't have that perfectly horizontal. You don't need that horizontal because you need a little bit of flex just there, so you can angle that in. So you essentially angle it in, and then you're able to clip that in fairly easily. Mine sort of slightly is still a little bit warped, but it's far better than the way it was. And if you sort of see it straight on, they do look pretty straight now. So that's the way you want it. So just be aware on how you transform the back there. But even on the back, I think the way they've done the wings there, I think it folds away beautifully. One of the tricks, I can't quite get the light in there, attaching the, if I just move this arm maybe, what you want to see for the back here, definitely this grey piece that you attach to the first panel there, attach that to, or clip those together and then clip it into the back there. Don't try to clip it into the back first and then clip that grey piece in. It just won't go very well. Once you do that, and then have these telescoped correctly, it folds away really, really nicely. I heard a lot of complaints or warnings about the rotation mechanism of the nose cone. Mine was actually pretty easy. I didn't have too many issues with rotating that or clicking the knees. When you're transforming the legs, there is a part where you need to essentially break the joint, and it will make a pretty disturbing cracking noise. But if you hold it in a certain way, it won't make that disturbing noise, and it will sort of loosen fairly easily. So I followed Watafa, the Japanese Transformers YouTuber, and his transformation was pretty good for the most part, apart from the shoulder intakes. But overall, I think his is probably one of the best transformation videos. What else could I say about the transformation? I think the way the legs fold is very similar to all of the folding that you do on MP-44, and the way it cleans up is beautiful, I think. And when I get out MP-11 and give you guys a side-by-side, you'll see how good it really is. But that's pretty much it. I don't have any other issues. I was worried about the ankle cracking. I don't have any cracks, and mine are pretty firm, so you can sort of lean him back and point those down and it will stand okay. Others have reported that he tends to sort of fall forward because of his weight, but mine seem to be okay. What else can I say? I haven't really tried the ab crunch, and I don't really want to give that a go just in case I screw something up. I don't think the lack of a waist swivel is a big deal for me at all. I love the fact that this whole centerpiece is unbroken. I think it looks far better that way without having that sort of break in the line there, just so I could rotate the waist. I think with the articulation that he does have, particularly in the legs and so on, I think he covers pretty much all that I would want to do on my display. And I guess the ratchets are pretty soft, so you can sort of hear a light crack there, and similarly for the waist or the hips there. These panels, there's no real risk of paint damage that I found. Normally I'm pretty paranoid, but these seem to be pretty good in getting out of the way. So that's pretty much it from articulation, I think. You get the usual double joints at the elbows and so on, but overall I think this is a fantastic representation of the character. So I'll just get MP-11 out and give you guys a side-by-side. Hold on. Alright, so here they are side by side, and I think it's probably been about 10 years since MP-11 was released, and I guess it was a variant of the MP3, I think it was, one of the earlier molds, which is why this is considered a 2.0, not a 3.0. And if you can see it right before your eyes there, I think 10 years makes a massive difference. MP-11 for its time was pretty damn good. It had its own problems. Mine still got the floppy waist where you pretty much pick it up here and the whole midsection disconnects, which I think they improved in some of the later repaints, like the Thundercracker and Skywarp don't have that issue. But I guess just the cartoon accuracy, I think MP-52 really does take it to school in terms of that. Just the, you do get a lot more panel lining and surface detail, but really I don't think it really adds anything. The overall proportions, if you look at the chest, the chest area here, this just looks so much better. And even on the side profile here, if I just turn them both to the side, you can really see the difference there. I think, just look at the legs. This is pretty ridiculous when you think about it now. Even the feet look pretty ridiculous. When I look at that, that's the sort of profile that I saw, and I thought about when they teased the MP-36 Megatron silhouette. That profile was just perfect to the cartoon, and I think they've done a fantastic job here with Starscream. That profile, people talk about his fat belly and so on, but that's just, I don't know. That's what I remember from the cartoon, and it just looks so good in hand compared to MP-11 there. That's all of this is pretty much of a mess, and you turn them around, and there's not much competition when you do that either. So the legs look far better from the back. There's none of this weird thing. You don't have you probably can't see it, but you can't see the nose cone sticking out through the bottom of his legs. Sure, you can see the bottom of this just slightly, but there is a way that you can sort of just angle it up slightly. It's on that joint that you connect in, but there is a little bit of flex there, and you can move it up a little bit, but for the most part I don't even really notice it. And if you look at that, even from the rear, it just looks so good. And I love that they've got the Decepticon symbols upside down there, and of course they've got them upside down on the front as well. The grey is definitely a bit darker, but I guess everything, all the surfaces are pretty much painted. This paint, there was concerns about the chest paint here being just painted over from this and seeing the orange through the paint, but I can't make that out in any of my photos or in hand here. There's no real issue for that at all. But yeah, just the deepness and the gloss of the red, the grey, it just looks so much better than MP-11 here. I guess I don't have the third-party Meteor to compare against, but just going by photos, I think this particular MP-52 is better than that Meteor. There was a recent tease of some other company, I can't remember what they were called now, Deformed or something, and now that one does look pretty good, but it'll be interesting to see how that transforms and what scale it is. But for this MP scale, I don't think you can really go past MP-52. Now I guess there is that cracking issue. Thank God for mine that I don't have any cracked ankles. So I did have that tiny little crack on the stabilizer, but I guess in bot mode that doesn't really bother me too much at all. So overall, I'm definitely glad I got this figure, and it's going to look fantastic in the collection next to MP-36 and Shockwave as well. So I'm definitely going to get Thundercracker and Skywarp over the rest of the year. I think I've also got Skids and that Reboost coming up. So hopefully you can subscribe and stay tuned for those MP reviews. But that's pretty much it for my thoughts on Starscream. Oh, and I guess the biggest difference as well is the head sculpt. I forgot to talk about the head sculpt. That just looks so much like Starscream in terms of just expression, shape, proportions, everything. So I haven't put on the smirk yet, and I think the default is just the stoic look. But I'll swap that out and take a few more photos with the rest of the Decepticon gang and post them up on the Facebook page. So hopefully you can head over there and check out those photos in the next couple of days. But that's pretty much it. If you're sitting on the fence, I would say go ahead and order it. The cracking issue, I think the issues were worse on Hound and probably not as bad on this one. And I guess the overall improvements is just incredible. So definitely get out there and get it. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.